Today we're looking at the importance of task response in General Training IELTS Writing Task 1. And what I'm going to show you is those very simple mistakes that you can make that will have a big impact on your task response score and in turn your overall writing score. My name is Lara Ryan. I've been an IELTS examiner. I've been an IELTS teacher at the British Council. I have over a decade of experience helping IELTS students achieve success, and I am the founder of Complete Test Success. As always, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel or my page if you haven't already. So to get started, let's look at the question we will focus on in this lesson. So here we have a General Training Task 1 question. The statement says, you had planned to visit your friend who is living abroad, but now you must cancel. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, say why you need to cancel, how you feel about it, make new arrangements to visit him or her. So with those 3 prompts that you just saw, we will write 1 paragraph for each prompt, and each paragraph will be about 60 words long. And it's really your ability to respond to those prompts that determines your task response score. So let's just focus on the first prompt, say why you need to cancel, to demonstrate the importance of task response. So here's an example paragraph for that prompt. I hate doing this to you on such short notice, but I really need to cancel my plans to see you next month because my cousin is getting married on the same weekend. She had already invited me before I decided to visit you, but it completely slipped my mind until she called over to my house yesterday. So let's just assume that you need a band 7 overall, and you're already writing at a standard of 7 for coherence and cohesion, 7 for lexical resource, and 7 for grammatical range and accuracy. So all we need to do is get the appropriate task response score. So in that paragraph that we just looked at, the first sentence responds directly to the prompt, and the rest of the paragraph develops that idea. And it develops that idea in a way that it is still discussing what the prompt asked us to discuss. So because the full paragraph is about what it should be about, that allows us to get a band 7 for task response. And that of course means that our overall score is a band 7. So there we got the score that we needed because our response to the prompt was direct and developed appropriately. Now, if you're going to get a higher score than band 7 in task response, you will need to respond like this in all of your paragraphs. Next, I'm going to show you probably the most difficult part of task 1 for General Training IELTS, and that's that you have to use the appropriate tone. So in this letter, we're writing to a friend. That means that it's an informal letter. But if we include any formal language, that means we automatically get a band 6 for task achievement. Now, let me show you an example of that. So this is the same paragraph we had before, and I'm going to take this phrase, before I decided to visit you, and I'm going to change it from this, which is appropriate, to this, which is formal and inappropriate. Prior to my decision to visit you. And because that is informal, that immediately brings our task response score to a band 6 and our overall score to a band 6.5. So let's just say that we were actually looking at a band 8 or a band 9 in task response. And in the same way, we just included 1 phrase that was the incorrect tone. So formal when it should have been informal, or informal when it should have been formal. We go straight from a 9 down to a 6, or straight from an 8 down to a 6. So even 1 instance of this results in a band 6 for task response, and then we saw our overall score coming down as well. So it's really, really important that you get this right. And obviously, the more mistakes that you make with the tone, the lower your score will go. So 1 mistake is a 6, but more and more again will bring you to a 5, and more again will bring you down to a 4. Before we look at one other common reason that students score a band 6 in task response, don't forget to sign up for my free live feedback lessons. In those we cover reading, writing, listening and speaking every week, and you will find the link to join those in the video description. So here we're looking at the same first half of the paragraph. I hate doing this to you on such short notice, but I really need to cancel my plans to see you next month because my cousin is getting married on the same weekend. But this time, the second half of the paragraph is different. She's getting married to a nice guy from our neighbourhood that we used to hang out with when we were growing up. So you'll see here the first half of the paragraph responds directly to the prompt, which is asking us to explain why we need to cancel. But the second half is just talking about my cousin's marriage. It's not talking about the fact that I need to cancel, and therefore it is not appropriate because it's not relevant to what we have been asked to discuss. So because this part of our answer is not appropriate, that means our task response score is a band 6 and our overall score is once more 6.5. So let's look at what would result in an even lower score. We're still responding to that same first prompt. Say why you need to cancel. And this time, the paragraph says, my cousin, the one that you met when we were in university, is getting married next weekend. For the last few years, she's been dating a nice guy from our neighbourhood that we used to hang out with when we were growing up, and he popped the question a few months back. So this time there's a very clear reason about why you're cancelling, but you haven't said that you're cancelling. So you don't want the person reading to have to connect all the dots and put the pieces together. You need to say directly that you're cancelling, and this is the reason why. So in this case, the whole paragraph is actually inappropriate, and that means the task response score is 5, and that means we still get 6.5. So now we're assuming that we're getting a band 5 because this paragraph is not appropriate, but the other paragraphs are okay. But if you were to have 3 paragraphs like this, or even 2 paragraphs like this, that would bring our task response score down to a band 4. So let's just say we had 3 paragraphs that were all inappropriate, just like the one we're looking at here. That would be a task response band 4 and an overall score of 6. So the key takeaways from today's lesson is 1. Make sure when you're learning vocabulary that you learn whether the terms are formal or informal. 2. Make sure that you respond directly to each prompt in the first part of your paragraph. And 3. Make sure that your development of that idea is not just talking about the idea in general, but talking about the idea in the context of the prompt, in the context of what you've been asked to discuss. Now, my experience with IELTS students is that they normally didn't realise just how important the tone of the vocabulary is. So let me know in the comments, is that something that you already knew, or is that something new for you?